Are you tired of kicking and screaming through life? You know that feeling as if life is not taking you where you want to go? In other words, life is just dragging you. So let me offer you a suggestion on how we can change that, on how you can set your life up to go in the direction that you want it to go in. Let's talk about it. Here's the truth. Most people are living life on autopilot. I hear it all the time. I'm just going with the flow. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, as if that is the way that we should go. But here's the suggestion. If we want our life to go in the direction we want to go, and I know there are some people that will say, well, I can't control everything. And that is true. There are things that are out of our control. But when it comes to how we want our life to be, how we want our lives to be set up, there is one thing that we have to do. We have to get intentional. Get intentional with our life. And how we're going to do that, we're going to plan our life. We got to plan things because it's time out for all of this just being dragged through life. It's time out for all of the kicking and screaming through life. I spent years doing it, if I'm being honest. Just think about a child in the store. Could be your own child, or it could be a child that you have witnessed in the store. They want something, but their parents just keep on moving. They won't stop. They won't get it. And that child is not satisfied with that. That child, if they are allowed to do that, that child is going to kick and scream for their entire visit in that store. Or at the very least, they are not going to enjoy their visit in that store. They're going to be crying because they have not gotten what they want. It's the same thing in life. When we don't get what we want out of life, life is not fun. So it's time to get up, time to stop kicking and screaming, and it's time to be intentional. There's a Bible verse that says, write the vision and make it plain. We have to get intentional by writing out what we are planning. For so many years, I kept my plans in my head. And there were some, well, not some, there were a lot of things that I wrote in my journal. So not only should we be writing our plans, we should also revisit these plans. Writing down your goals make them more tangible. And the reason why you're going to revisit them every day, because just say, for instance, if some things came up and maybe you didn't tackle everything on your list, or there's something you missed. So now here's your opportunity to say, hey, well, I forgot to do X, Y, and Z today. And I'm going to be transparent with you. It used to be a time where planning was something difficult for me to do because I felt as if though it was taking something away from me. But it is important that you plan, that you write things down that you want to achieve. Just think about it. When you have a doctor's appointment or your child has a doctor's appointment, you make sure that they give you that appointment card when you go to the doctor office, or you make sure you put it in your calendar so that you won't forget that appointment, so you can make the necessary provisions that you are there or that your child is there. It's the same thing when we are planning our life so it can be set up in the way we want it to go. Write it down, revisit, and execute. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves waking up one day asking ourselves, what happened? Where did the time go? And what have I been doing with my life? And yes, as we know, we can't control everything. But when it comes down to how we spend most of our waking hours, we should want to be very intentional about that. Because it's no fun spending your entire day doing something you don't want to do. You're watching your watch, you're watching the clock, waiting for the time for you to punch out the clock. And then we are rushing through the week, rushing for the weekend to get here. But then when the weekend gets here, we want time to slow down. It just doesn't work that way. So it would be in our best interest to be more intentional with how we want our lives to be and plan our life accordingly so we can get as close to that ideal as we possibly can. Because as we know, everything doesn't always go as planned, but we can get as close as possible as we can to what we are looking for. No more, I'm just going with the flow. No more, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. Especially if you are a woman over 40 or over 50 like I am, a person over 50 like I am, you have no more time to be playing around and to be unintentional. And now, granted, maybe you haven't been unintentional in every aspect of your life. Perhaps you knew you wanted to be married, you knew you wanted to have children, and so you did that. And maybe you have a career that you are somewhat okay with. But for me, I've never had a job that I've been in love with. I've had jobs where I've enjoyed the people that I work with, but I've never had a job that I couldn't wait to get up and go to. And so that's what I'm talking about. And so one of the other things that we can do to be intentional with our life is to intentionally seek our purpose and live in our purpose and walk in our purpose. Because here's the thing. We can look successful on paper. We can look successful on the surface because we have the house, we have the car, we have the family, we have these vacations that we take. We can look successful in that way. But the question then becomes, are you fulfilled? And the way that we can become fulfilled is by walking in our purpose, right? So get intentional about how you want your life to be. And not only should you get intentional by planning, revisit those plans and execute those plans. That's very, very important. Like I told you before, I wrote a lot of things in my journal, but a lot of them I didn't revisit and a lot of them I did not execute. So execute the plans that you have written. Get them out of your head on some paper, somewhere where you can see them on a vision board so that you can see them. And that way you can be intentional and you can execute. Because if you're not living a life that is desirable for you, you are not going to enjoy life very much. You have the desires, but you're not doing anything about them. There's a quote that says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Think about that. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. In other words, if you don't get serious about, if you don't get intentional about what you want your life to look like. And I think another thing too is the reason that a lot of us don't get more intentional about how we want our lives to be. Sometimes we feel as if the life that we want, that ideal life that we want, is out of reach for us. And so therefore we just kind of, as we say, go with the flow. But no, you got to be intentional again, so you can get as close as possible to the ideal life that you want. Because if you don't plan your life and how you want it to go, you're going to miss the mark by a long shot. You're going to be so far off from your ideal that you're not going to even recognize your life. So it's important that we plan. And it's not all about, again, what success looks like on the surface and what it looks like on paper. It's more about being fulfilled. How can I be fulfilled in my life? How can I plan a life of fulfillment? You can do that by walking in your purpose, finding out what your purpose is. So if you're tired of kicking and screaming through life and have forgotten what you want your ideal life to look like, click the link in the description for a free download. It is a reflective journaling guide that will be sure to put you on the right path. Because we all should be able to wake up and enjoy and then look forward to what the day brings. Now, we may get up in the morning and we may not be all that excited. And it's not because you're not excited about living or being alive, but it's just because you're not going to something that fulfills you. I was watching a video the other day, and this older guy, he was talking about he was retiring from his job after so many years. And he said he made good money. He was making six figures. But he said enough was enough. And I want to say he probably was about, I don't know, 55 or 58. And he said enough was enough. I'm making the money, but I'm working all these different shifts, and I'm just not enjoying what I'm doing. I don't have any input on what I'm doing or how things should be. So enough is enough. So he was retiring. So we can be making the money and we can be living the lifestyle. But if we are not fulfilled, if we are not spending our time the way we want to spend our time, life can be such a drag. It can be you can feel such a disdain for life. You can feel so disconnected from life when you are not doing the things that you want to do. Never mind that things don't always work out as planned and we can't control everything. All of those things are true. But what I can tell you is that if you plan for success, if you plan for fulfillment, because again, success can mean so many different things. I can be successful, but I may not be fulfilled. So let's plan for fulfillment. What brings us satisfaction? What brings us joy? Let's get in alignment with our purpose, because that's where the real fulfillment comes from. And when you are fulfilled, it's very easy for you to be intentional. No more of this, I'm just going along for the ride. I'm just going along where life takes me. And you know what that looks like? What it looks like is you work in this job, and you work this job until they lay you off or until they fire you or something like that. And even if you love your job, let me say this, because so many people get offended when we talk about jobs. And if you love your job, that's great. That's wonderful. But you still should have something of your own that you just really enjoy and you love, something that you cannot be fired from. When you are working in your purpose, you can't be fired from your purpose, because I don't care. I've found this too. There are so many people who love their job. They say they love their job, but they're the same people who still can't wait for the weekend. Okay? They still can't wait to go on vacation. Now, I'm not saying to not go on vacation, to not take a trip somewhere. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is those people who claim they love their job, they're in the same category as all of us who can't wait till the weekend, can't wait until vacation. When you love what you do, you are not counting the days until the weekend. Every day is a different day for you. Every day is a good day for you because you are enjoying what you're doing instead of worrying about the weekend. So that's what it looks like to walk in your purpose. So if fulfillment is what we're after, which I believe we should be, then getting in alignment with your purpose is sure to bring you the fulfillment you are looking for. And that way, you don't have to feel like you are kicking and screaming through life. This is what I found. People can have a hunger or a desire for purpose, and they may not have a name to it, but they are just feeling so disconnected and so out of order with life, and they just don't know what's missing. It's time to stop being dragged by life. It's time to stop kicking and screaming through life and get to a life that we actually enjoy. It's time to become more intentional with what we are doing with our life, because intentional living leads to a more enjoyable and fulfilling life. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell for all notifications. And if you know someone who could benefit from this content, be sure to share this video. Until next time, bye for now, and I'll catch you in the next one.